Cam Newton has a dream job in Carolina. He's the quarterback of the Panthers. He said he wants to stay. What you need to know this morning is we don't know what to know about the Carolina Panthers and Cam Newton because the people who are running that team are keeping their cards very close to the vest. Last week, it was general manager Marty Herney who was evading questions about the future of Cam Newton. This week, it's David Tepper, the owner of the team, who was asked about Cam Newton's status with the organization. Newton has said he will absolutely play for the Panthers in 2020, and David Tepper's position is there's nothing to talk about until Cam Newton is healthy, but don't take my word for it as if you ever would. Here is Panthers owner David Tepper on Tuesday addressing the future of Cam Newton in Carolina.
I'm not a doctor. You know, and I said it a million times. Is he healthy? And how does? I mean, he's not a doctor. So, you know, there's a lot of different things can happen. But first is he healthy? Tell me that, and then we can talk.
You know, it's funny. The I'm not a doctor thing works for most people. But when you are rich enough to buy the opinion of any doctor in the world or every doctor in the world, I don't know that I'm not a doctor flies. I'd like to think by now, David Tepper, multi-billionaire owner of the Panthers, has had a doctor give him some idea as to when/if Cam Newton is going to be healthy again. Big Cat, I think with the Panthers, they are at a point where there's fatigue when it comes to the constant questions about Cam Newton's health and the reality that he never seems to be healthy. He's either rehabbing an injury or he's got a new injury he's playing through. And I think that at some level, the organization just has decided we need to move on. We can't do this anymore.
So I agree with you there. I do think that there's the tone that they're going to move on from Cam Newton. I don't think that's smart. I think Cam Newton, if healthy, is probably still a top 10 quarterback. You just don't let a guy like that walk out the door when you don't have someone to replace him. Like, they tried the Kyle Allen thing last year. It didn't really work. They tried the Will Grier thing. It didn't seem like it worked. Who knows if he can be the guy. You know, he's obviously just a rookie. So Cam Newton, if you're trying to win right now, if you're trying to say, hey, we have Christian McCaffrey still, who is, you know, one of the top 3 impact players in the league right now, you know, was in the MVP discussion last year up until the season kind of fell apart. Let's still try to go for this thing. Let's try to put this thing back together with Cam Newton one last run. I don't think they're going to. I think that's the smart thing to do. But what this comment from the owner says to me is he's really just saying, I need Cam to show up and I need to talk to him. Because the I'm not a doctor line, you're exactly right. He knows what's going on with Cam. He's gotten opinions on it. He's probably gotten multiple opinions on it. But he probably hasn't heard it from Cam. So having Cam Newton show up to OTAs, having him show up to off-season, you know, workouts and non-mandatory lifts and being a presence in the facility, that's what this message kind of sends out there to me. Like, he's saying, hey, Cam, come show up. Let's talk. Let's see if you're okay. You tell me you're okay, and we'll assess from there. Right now, I'm just talking to a bunch of doctors, even though I'm not a doctor, and trying to surmise whether you're healthy or not.
Well, and I think another part of this is this notion of buying into the new regime, the new process in Carolina. A lot of changes have been made. The only coach that Cam Newton has ever known at the NFL level is now in Washington. Matt Rule from Baylor is in, and when Rule was introduced, David Tepper answered questions from the media, and he was asked about Cam's future, and he went straight into this concept of the importance of having everyone buy in, which implies that maybe there's concern that the franchise quarterback, who has only played for Ron Rivera, may not buy in. Here's the bottom line. He's under contract for one more year at about $19 million. Incredibly tradable because it's ridiculously below market. And there's a team in L.A. that needs to start acting like it's in L.A. and has already begun the process of moving forward from Phillip Rivers. He's gone. They've announced it. And Tom Telesco, the GM of the team, said earlier this week that they like their internal options, although it's not like he's going to come out and say we want to trade for Cam Newton. That would not be wise. It would be tampering, first of all. Second of all, it makes it more expensive to get him if you make it known you want him. But that's the team that eventually should be banging on the door of David Tepper to try to get Cam Newton. And I think that one of the reasons the Panthers are being coy is they want to see whether it's the Chargers or someone else who will show up and try to trade for Cam Newton, and then they assess their options once they know what they can get for Cam Newton. They're being very strategic and businesslike about this. That's one of the reasons why David Tepper has so much money. He doesn't go into these things recklessly. He has a plan. And I think the plan is, let's see what's behind door number 2 by way of what someone will offer us at some point for Cam Newton.
Yeah, and looking right now, the Panthers obviously have the 7th pick in the draft, so you have to ask yourself, like, are they going to take a quarterback? Are you sold on a quarterback in that spot? Because I think Tua is probably going to go before that. Joe Burrow is going to go 1 to the Cincinnati Bengals. Are you going to find yourself in a situation where you sell yourself on a guy, and just because you have the 7th pick, you're like, all right, well, we're up here. We might as well take a guy. I don't know if that's the smartest strategy. I also think, Mike, throwing in the element of a rookie head coach, a guy who's going from Baylor to the NFL, like, having success right away and showing that you belong is important for a guy like that. In Matt Rule, you're paying him a lot of money. So if Cam Newton wants to play for the Panthers and he wants to buy in, I think it would make it smart. It would be a smarter decision to keep him than send him away and kind of have to figure out this quarterback thing with that rookie head coach and maybe throw away a couple of years and possibly Matt Rule, you know what I mean? Like, you know how the NFL works. If you start off in the first 2-3 years are not good, just because you don't have a quarterback, it could be curtains for you. Guys have no patience. The owner has no patience in the NFL. So that's an important piece to this puzzle as well that I'm interested in.
Well, and there's another piece to the puzzle that no one may be willing to acknowledge yet. You mentioned how much they're paying Matt Rule. Blew the market apart as it relates to entry-level head coaches, especially for a guy who has 1 year of NFL experience as an assistant offensive line coach for the Giants in 2012. Cam Newton is ridiculously underpaid. And it may be that Cam Newton's position is, I'm not going back onto a football field until I rip up this $19 million that I'm due to make this year, and you give me a real contract that reflects how the market has changed since I last signed a long-term extension that replaced his rookie deal. I think that could be part of this too. And again, nobody wants to be the bad guy. When it falls apart, right, no one wants to be perceived as the reason why a franchise quarterback leaves a team. And it very well could be that everyone knows that this thing has come to an end, but they're trying to figure out the best way to make it end. And if Cam Newton has said, I want a new contract, I mean, I don't know that, if I'm the Panthers and I'm keeping Cam Newton, I'm not giving him a new contract. I want to see what he does this year. I want to see that he's healthy. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if you sign him to a new deal and it doesn't work, you're stuck with a huge cap hit and a huge financial investment well into the future.
So that really is the question. And like how this whole thing is going to play out is, will there be a team out there that wants to sign Cam Newton to a long-term deal before he even steps back on a football field? Because that's really what's going to end up happening, right? Wouldn't you think, with the trade? If they trade Cam Newton to the Chargers, let's just throw that out there, right? The Chargers are not going to trade for Cam Newton just thinking they might have a one-year rental, and then if he plays well, he's going to get to hit the free agent market and walk away from, trading an asset for him. So I would assume that if Cam Newton goes somewhere else in a trade, there will be a deal set for him to sign when he shows up for at least an extra year or two contract extension. That, to me, is crazy. Like you said, you got to see what Cam Newton is right now, because he hasn't been healthy in a long time, and there's been a lot of weird stuff that has gone on. So making sure that you see him before you sign him to the contract, I guess it's one of those situations where there's always, a sucker at the table, and someone is going to bite, and someone's going to say, you know what, we'll take our chances here. His shoulder might never be the same, but let's just take our chances here because we need a splash.
Yeah, and you know what? That is a very real dynamic in this, because even though Cam Newton objectively should understand why a team wouldn't want to make the investment, objectivity goes out the window. He's seeing all these other guys that he looks at and says, these guys aren't as good as I am, getting paid huge money, and here he is, south of $20 million. Nick Foles is making $22 million a year, for crying out loud, on the bench in Jacksonville behind a 6th-round draft pick. So Cam Newton is going to insist, I believe, on a new contract, either from the Panthers or from wherever he gets traded. And, hey, the Chargers got to start acting like they're in L.A. And the best way to act like you're in L.A. is to get Tom Brady or Cam Newton to be your quarterback. And if they don't get Brady, I think Newton's the guy they need to get. And if they have to give him a new contract, so be it.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.